Ashley Berges here, just interviewed by Keith Andrew. He's doing an amazing job. I loved being on the show, had a great conversation, and I look forward to being back on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 553. I am your host, Keith Andrew. Along here is the beautiful and talented Ashley Berges. So I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Hey, I'm glad to be on, Keith. Great to be on. I love your show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, pretty good. Glad to finally have someone on my show. As of late, I've been playing phone tags, but finally happy it worked out.
I am too. I really am. I'm glad that you reached out, and I'm glad we had a good time to do it.
No, absolutely. Now, we're starting off the show for people who want to know what my talk show is about. I know I have a fat neck. I'm still working on that. Anyway, hey, anything can happen live. Maybe I should wear a scarf. That's not a bad idea.
You think you have a fat neck?
I'm just looking at myself in the reflection. It just looks like I have a fat neck.
I don't think you have a fat neck. I don't really see that, but I understand all of us have those things about ourselves that we wish we were one way or the other, right?
That's true. Now, for people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And to prove to them you still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. With that being said, half hour, 3 minutes of your time. You can talk about anything you want. I'm going to push on you. You can push back. Throw anything at me that you want. Uncensored, freedom of speech, self-expression. And it is a Halloween theme. But I wasn't in the mood to dress up, but at least, I make every episode different. But with that being said, the first question I was going to ask you is, what did you major in when you went to high school and college? Well, when you went to college anyway. And were you a study nerd or party animal?
Good question. Well, I had a multi kind of a deal in college. I went for 1 degree in psychology, and then the next I went in radio, TV, film. I was actually both. As far as I started my college off with being a party animal, and then I got serious. So I realized eventually that you had to get serious at some point, otherwise you wouldn't graduate. And I also realized that there was a point when it was fun, but then the fun was kind of over, and I had to really focus on my school. So both.
No, absolutely. Now, who influenced you to be getting into the whole radio background?
Actually nobody did. My mother is an educator. My father is a chemistry, biology kind of guy. And so I didn't really have any of that in my background, and no family relatives in film or TV or radio or anything. I just felt compelled, and I felt like there was a connection, and I kind of had that calling, even though I thought it was kind of crazy to go that direction.
No, absolutely. And it's the same thing for me. A lot of people would say, and it's kind of true, I screw up everything I touch. But I've been doing this show for 5.5 years, and I'm very passionate about it. I'm very vocal about it. If someone pokes fun at it, I get very defensive about it. If I didn't give a shit, I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, the show was kind of hit and miss. But this is what, I'm not saying this to be cute. I'm not saying this to be funny or kiss anyone's ass. I want to do this, and I'm using big words. I want to do this until I die. Until the day I'm 6 feet under. This is what I want my life to be. I want to be in front of people. I want to be on the air. I'm showing you as a disability, I can still amount to something. And for someone who reads and learns at a 5th grade level or high school level, I'm showing you what I'm capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, this is not about me. This is about you because they all heard this for 5.5 years. So, who were some of your favorite guests that you had on your show? And would you ever be interested having a local talent like myself on your show?
Well, I definitely would love to have you on my show. And we have as far as guests is concerned, I've had some really interesting guests throughout, the time that I've been on the air. The show's been going since May 2012, and I've had some interesting guests. I wouldn't say any of them best or worst. Definitely some really interesting folks who bring something to the table, something that is interesting and compelling and heartfelt. And definitely would love to have you on the show. We have quite a bit of a list here for the next few weeks, but I will definitely get you in before the end of the year because I like what you're talking about. I think that everybody has a place in this world, and I think everybody can add to it, depending on their belief system within themselves. And it's hard because a lot of times we're raised in different environments with different folks telling us things of what we should do or how we should be. When in reality, we have to find out who we are and what we should be and what we can do and get rid of those false pretenses. You know what I'm saying? And when I was growing up, I had a great family and I had great support. But yet, as far as when you think about, when you really think about self-esteem and self-worth, that was definitely something that I had to work at on my own. And that was something that I had to cultivate on my own. And I think a lot of folks out there today are feeling the same way because maybe they were raised in an environment where there was devaluation or there was toxic environment, mental toxic, emotional toxic, where you had to basically get yourself out of that situation and then realize the unhealthy situation and then capitalize on that and then try to figure out how to create your life and how to let go of the things that hold us back. And that's something that is very important to me.
No, absolutely. And you also mentioned about you're a life coach, you're a book author, and you're a therapist. But let's stay on the talk show for a couple more minutes. It's what do you see yourself doing? Because we are to mention to plug your show, you're on Speaker. So the first question I was going to ask you is, why did you choose Speaker over SoundCloud? And would you recommend Speaker?
Good question. I am on SoundCloud, but through Spreaker itself. Actually, Spreaker to me is one of the best podcasting portals that I think that there is because it allows you to connect with, I was on iTunes first and then went on Spreaker after that, but actually Spreaker will get you on iTunes, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, I'm trying to think, Spotify. I find it as a very good place to find followers. I think it's a good place for followers to find your show. And I really like the management team behind the company. I've gotten to meet the owner, the creator, and then the folks that run it, and I like them. And so that's something to be said about that. And then what they'll do is after a certain amount of shows, and once you get to that, that certain number, that magic number, I don't remember what that is, but then they can get your show out to other platforms, which I think is a great thing. So it definitely, I think, is a good spot. I did Apple iTunes on my own, though, and I encourage everybody to do that as well, to put your show out there to get to as many people as possible, and then definitely to put it on social media as well.
No, I agree with you. And a lot of people ask me, and I was actually thinking about it, because I was using SoundCloud. The difference between your show and my show, and don't mind me, I'm just getting comfy. The difference between your show and my show is when I first started, I just didn't want to do audio because I did audio. I'm going to give you a perfect example. When I first started, I had a camera resting on my phone. Actually, let's reverse that. I had my phone resting on the camera, so it would pick up the audio. But I was still having panic attacks, social anxiety, because this is like therapy for myself.
Okay.
And then I was supposed to work for Blog Talk Radio, and I was like, it's not working. This is not working for me, and who wants to look at a blank screen with audio? Unless you're driving, audio isn't audio's great, if you're driving. But if you're just sitting at the computer listening to someone babble on, it's kind of like, what the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
So then I went to, unfortunately, I did 72 of those. Then I did, trying to think without hurting myself. So then I went to, from audio, I did video. So what you see on the reflection trying to get you. And there you go.
Oh.
So how you see your reflection, that's what the camera picked up. That's all of season 1 and season 2. And people are like, well, if you're very serious about your talk show, you should get your head out of your ass. And why is the guest in the big screen and you're in a dinky little box? So season 3 and 4, it's kind of like this. It's cut in half. I'm on the right, you're on the left, and then when I do the editing, we're going to flip it. I'm on the left, you're on the right. So I'm showing you, through 5.5 years, I went from just doing audio to recording from the phone, then recording directly from the computer screen, to using Skype recorder. I'm very interested in getting my studio to work on my people skills, to sit down with someone and work on that. And I'm showing you there's a process from point A to point Z. You're not going to go to A to Z right away.
Right.
Same thing with the permission forms. I didn't do permission forms in the beginning. That bit me in the ass. So I had to rebrand myself. Just giving you the highlights without going into much detail.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see a process. But what I'm going to ask you is, you mentioned there's only a year difference because I started in 13, you started in 12. So you've been doing your show for 6.5 years. What were the process that you had to go through?
It was a really tough process, getting on radio was tough with the stations, because I'm not a sports show and I'm not a political show. I'm actually a enlightened show that's very rare to find. And so it was like taking a chance on something that you had never seen before. As we know, most big companies with that much bureaucracy and what have you do not take chances. So I got a few weeks to try out, and then I kept going back, and then I got 6 months, then I got a year, and then I've been on that specific station and cluster since 2012, and then just been working really hard to syndicate and as a basically a grassroots syndication, and now in about 40 markets around the country, and then worked on the podcast, started really working on that about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, realizing the value of that, putting the podcast out there, and realizing how many people listen to radio, don't listen to radio, listen to podcasts, don't listen to podcasts, and so that as well. And then just really working on that, and I think one of my biggest challenges, to be quite honest with you, is you have great content, but it's finding those sponsors, it's finding the advertising money. And most of that has been from the fact of not having the time, because I am a full-time therapist as well, and life coach, and then I have the TV show on Amazon Prime, and we do the weekly videos on YouTube and what have you. So it's been a real challenge, and so now I'm putting that up and trying to put together a new media kit to really get out there and get some advertising dollars revenue for the show. Since I'm already doing the content, the show's being done all the time, might as well get some money for it. So trying to work on that, but that would be kind of the hardest thing that I think, just due to time and the fact that it's like another job. It's like all of a sudden you become a salesperson too, So that to me is another hat that you have to wear, and definitely another hurdle to work over and to jump over.
Now, my next question I was going to ask you is, what is your format? Do you just say what's on your mind? Do you curse? Is it PG? Is it PG-13? What is your format, and how did you get your viewers hooked?
Well, I don't ever curse because most of the shows run on radio, so they'll throw you off the air. I would think most of my content is very, I would say kind of deep. I don't know if that would carry a PG-13 or R rating with that, but I definitely think it's pretty deep stuff. But at the same point, um, it's always about finding your true calling, living your true life, how to live your true life, how to deal with relationship issues, overcoming that adversity, overcoming personal adversity. And then my show is always an 11, 11, 11, 8.5 minute show. So every segment is segmented out down to the second for radio. And then when it comes to podcasting, sometimes I just freestyle it. But I always have, the concept in mind, what I want to talk about, how to get to A to B, and then and have a little bit of fun with it. But I don't ever script it. I might write like a couple of sentences down, but I don't read for the show. But I really like to just take somebody from one extreme to the other, really connect with the listener, where they understand exactly from all different angles where that's coming from.
No, absolutely. I know this person who does their show, and they only do like 15-minute segments. And a lot of people have said to me, I should shorten my interview time from a half hour, 33 minutes, to like 15. And I'm like, well, there's a lot I want to talk about. How can I do that in 15 minutes? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, I guess I can try that, but I feel it's kind of like it takes away. And going back to, freedom of speech, when I first started the show, it was called Uncensored. So, I guess spewing off at the mouth, because I just say whatever pops in my head, it's going to eventually bite me in the ass. But it's kind of like, I like my show to be open. I like it to be unique. I want it to be, not censorized or politically correct, but it's just, I want you to be you, and I'm going to be me. And whatever, I'm not going to say F this, F that, or whatever, or go on a whole big tangent or whatever. It's not like that. It's just, the latest my show will be like PG-13. Occasionally I will slip, or the guest would say something like the F word, maybe once or episode or whatever. But besides that, it doesn't take away from the message.
Awesome.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree. I understand. You have to be you, and in any situation. And I don't think that. I think having fun and spicing it up is a good thing, and I think people can connect with that.
No, absolutely. Now, the next one I was going to ask you is, how many years have you been a therapist?
I've been a therapist for over 5 years, and then I went back and got some additional schooling for life coaching, so that people don't necessarily like the word therapist. They don't like the name therapist, so they like the idea of a coach. And so I went back and got some hours credit for that too, so I can be either the therapist or the coach, depending on what you would rather hear.
Well, if you're interested, I might hire you. Help me be a life coach.
Oh, I'd love that. I'd love to be your life coach. I work with clients from all over the world, actually, and not just the country. And I even have some clients in Australia and New Zealand. And I really, it was interesting. I had a client yesterday, actually, out of New Zealand that had been working with a psychologist prior to working with me. And he's actually worked with me for 3 sessions already. And he went and saw the psychologist, and the psychologist said that he couldn't believe the amount of growth that he saw in him in 3 sessions with me. And he said, I just don't think you need me. He said, I think you really need to work with Ashley and focus with her, because you've just grown so much in 3 weeks. And so I thought that was very cool and very powerful. So yes, definitely, if you would like to work with me, I would see that as an honor.
No, we can definitely work on that. Now, the next question I was going to ask you before we take a commercial break is, my show is about disabilities. One, have you ever worked with anyone with besides me, apparently you're doing my show, have you ever worked with anyone with learning disabilities and disabilities? And are you willing to work with them?
I've worked with a lot of people, actually, with disabilities as far as learning disabilities, disabilities as far as being confined to a wheelchair. I've actually done a lot of work with folks with disabilities, and I don't see that as any. I think we all have the things that we have to deal with, and we all have the stuff that we have to overcome, and I see that as something that is a powerful strengthening device that, if used properly, can really propel somebody to the next level of their life. And so I'm definitely behind people 100% that can show up and do what they need to do and be there and overcome on a daily basis. I think it's inspirational to anybody that's working with them.
No, absolutely. And who were some of your favorite people that you worked with that had disabilities?
Well, I've actually had some people that interned with with me back in the day, and then I actually had a couple of people, a friend of mine, Brian, and another friend of mine, Tiffany, that one had a learning disability, and one was actually in a wheelchair. And it was just very awesome just to work alongside. And the cool thing too is that, I've met a lot of students and a lot of younger children nowadays that, that are dealing with disabilities, and most of them have, they just know how to connect with people, and it's amazing when everybody's working together and nobody's making a judgment call based on their own limitation. You know what I'm saying? Because I find that you have people that are always going to find division, whether they're, white, black, Hispanic, Asian. You'll see men that think women are not of value. You'll see women that don't like men. You'll see, people that have problems with the opposite sex, a different religion, a disability, the list goes on. And you find that most of the time with that situation, they're quite divided. They have no idea who they are, and then making judgment calls on other people is just a sign that they probably don't like themselves that much. And so to me, it's very interesting to watch when you have a good dynamic of people around you, disabilities, no disabilities, different colors, different races. I think it really shows you as who you are to the core.
No, absolutely. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you two hard-hitting subjects and going to pass the remaining time over to you.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Vanessa Lina. Adrian Lotto. Michael. This is Cynthia Bass today. I'm Sonia Fisher. This is Shane Smith. My name is Alexandra Bowie. This is Amelia Clover. Hi, I'm Amy Linden. Hi, I'm Anita Nicole Brown.
Meg Green.
Hi, my name is Asata Caldwell. Hi, everybody. I'm Brooke.
Hi, I'm Bryn Bird.
Hi, I'm Casey Dunn.
Hi, it's Cassandra Kavinsky.
Hi, I'm Christina Briza.
I'm Cindy Hogan. I'm Courtney Sinella.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
My name is Deborah Jane East.
Hi, my name is Danielle Marcia.
Everyone, I'm Victoria London.
Hi, I'm Heather Crona.
Hi, I'm Heather Callahan Stevens.
Hi, I'm J. Nicole Ralph.
My name is Jamie Petrell. My name is Turi. My name is Julia Blankovich.
Kathleen Wills.
Kimberly Amato.
Hi, my name is Laura Putton.
Hi, I'm Laura Chapanis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Damas.
This is Michelle Mupo, a.k.a. Fuchsia. I'm Rachel Rivera.
Hi, my name is Sarah Joy Mount.
Hi, I'm Susan Winder.
Hi, everyone. This is Venus Leone.
Hi, I'm Showtana.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Herrera, and I was just on the Keith Andrew Network. It was tons of fun. We used up all our time and then some. I really recommend this show, and try to be a guest on Keith's show. It was super fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keith Andrew Network. I am your host, Keith Andrew, and this is episode 553. I'm here with Ashley Berges. I just want to say thank you for sticking with us. With the last 10 minutes and counting, I'm going to actually two hard-hitting, I can't even speak. I'm going to ask you two hard-hitting questions, and then I'll pass it over to you. You can ask me anything you want, freedom of speech, self-expression. And the first one that caught my interest is that you are a book author, and that you are also a life coach. But I know we hinted in the beginning about the life coach. But I do have one question for the life coach, and for the book author question. That's part one. So let me break it down like this. When you were a life coach, or still are a life coach, have you ever felt you made a difference in somebody's life? Say, for an example, someone was in a crappy situation, and they came to you, and they turned their life around on a 360. As a life coach, have you ever done something like that?
Yeah, actually, I can say that I actually do that almost every day of my life, which is very powerful. And I have people that come to me. I have people that write me letters. I have people that'll email me. I'll have people that'll message me on Facebook, social media, about helping them and how their life has changed. Clientele, I have clients that come in and just their whole life has changed. Us working together, and they'll even tell me, they'll give me a big hug. They might even have tears of joy because it's, they feel it, and it's really wonderful. It's really wonderful to have that, and it makes me feel good, and it makes me know that I'm doing what I need to be doing, because I really go 100,000,000% for everybody that I work with, because I want them to have those life epiphanies. I want them to have those awakenings, and so so I'm really fortunate to be able to get to receive that type of feedback often.
No, that's amazing. On the next part I was going to ask you is we were talking off the air about working together, but I think this is a great opportunity to plug for you, is you are an up-and-coming book author. How many books did you write? And has anyone ever walked up to you and say, this is the best thing I ever read?
I've written 2 books. I'm actually trying to write 2 more. I have 2 more outlined out, and I've been trying really hard, but I'm working 80-hour weeks, and so it's really been kind of sad because I haven't been able to get to it, and I've got to figure out how to eventually. But yes, it's really cool when people. It's really cool when you're at an event or you're out of town and you're talking to somebody, and the next thing you know, they realize that they read your book, and then they actually comment about how the book has changed their life. It's really cool. It's really neat because I like to walk my clients through my second book, which is the 10-day challenge to live your true life. And in the 10-day challenge, it's 10 days. Like each chapter is a day, and so we start with boundaries and negativity and overcoming energy suckers and figuring out how to love ourselves and figuring out what we stand for and all that great stuff. And so, powering people up through the book after we've dealt with some of the big issues, and then we've deconstructed those issues. We've taken, the layers of the onion, so to speak, off. The stuff that's been holding them back. We all hold ourselves back, whether it's in the situation we're in and we create it and we use other people to hold us back through our own mind and through our own creation, or we're doing it ourselves. And so being able to pull those layers back and then, reconditioning, changing the thought process, changing the language that we use in our own mind, because you and I both know that limiting language is one of the biggest things that can hold us back, right? Thinking that we can't do something is probably one of the worst things we can do. Okay, so it's really nice when people have read the book and it's impacted them. I only have one nasty review on Amazon for my book, and I don't even think the person bought the book. They said that they were given the book and they read 2 pages and hated it. So, but all the other reviews are 5 stars. But you have one person that didn't even buy the book, gave it a 1 star, and said that they read 2 pages and hated it. So you're gonna deal with those kind of people too. Anytime you put yourself out there, you're gonna have people that love you and think you're awesome, and you're gonna have people that don't. And so you just got to be willing to deal with that as well.
No, I agree with you. In my case, I'm horrible at writing, and I suck at a storyteller. Even though I am a wrestling fan, and I have some great ideas from a couple of wrestlers, but I guess in a way I am like a beginner storyteller, but to actually sit there and write my book, I can, tell you how it got started, who influenced me, and about that. Then I can get up, if I'm lucky enough, get up to 30 pages. Like, this is not a book. I don't know what the hell this even is. So I'm looking to hire a storyteller, someone to tell my story for me.
Okay.
Because I originally wrote my book. It was originally called When You... Yeah, my brother still makes fun of me for this title. It's called When You Overcome Controversy, Dreams Do Come True, even if you have a learning disability. And it's like, number one, you can't overcome controversy. And besides that, the book was filled with spelling errors. I'll give you an example. I was talking about my mother in the book and how she went to community college. Instead of saying she went to community college, it says she went to comedy college.
Oh, I got you.
And then another part says, I was raised in Orange County, New York. It says, I rised on Orange County. So if it was meant to be a joke, yeah, people would think it's funny. But I did everything myself, and I landed on my face. Hint towards why I want to hire a storyteller to actually tell the story, instead of me babbling on.
Well, or perhaps maybe you could find, if I had the time, I definitely would, but you could also maybe find someone that you can basically talk to and they can type it out. You know what I'm saying? And that might be good too, because, using spell check and that kind of sort of thing as well. And maybe, instead of you having to type it out or write it out, have someone that'll do that, that might be kind of more into like, maybe they have a good proficiency on Word or, stuff like that. Maybe more, maybe they have a lot more like secretarial skills or something where, and you know what I'm saying, where they can actually type pretty fast and kind of follow you. And that might work too. So you could maybe find a storyteller or write out what you kind of want to have in there and then kind of talk it through, and they can kind of type it out as you're talking. And that might be good too. I don't know, just some ideas.
No, I appreciate it. Now it's the last 3 minutes and counting. I'm going to pass the remaining time over to you. Was there anything you wanted to talk about? Anything you want to promote? Any new projects you're working on? This is your time. Passing the show over.
Well, first off, I want to say this is a great show, and I'm really glad to be on it. And how many interviews have you done so far?
Well, thanks to you, officially, it will be 553 episodes.
Wow. That's a lot. That's really awesome. Congratulations. That's cool. Do you put them on YouTube as well?
I had a misunderstanding with YouTube.
Oh, okay.
A long story short was, when I first started the show, I wasn't doing commercial breaks, so me and the guest would just go over and over the time limit. So now, when I said, we're going to do a commercial break, during that break, you're going to see some recommendations of people who I interviewed. So before that, I came up with this brilliant idea that I always do. Is hey, I like Toys R Us, I like BarkBox. Why not have those videos playing in front of the interview and during the interview? Mm-hmm. And Google took that as that you're spamming and that they said you're using copyrighted material, but that's okay. No actions will be taken against your account, blah, blah, blah. I looked at my stand-ins. You're in good stand-in. Next thing you know, they turn it off. It's like, I've been on here since 2012.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of like, you really can't just give me another chance. If you wanted me to take it down or re-edit it, I could have done that. You're not even giving me the opportunity to do it over. So, yeah, my work, it's done on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, but the bulk of it is on my Facebook fan page. I wanted my fan page to mean something, so whoever subscribes to the Facebook fan page gets to see all 553 episodes.
And is your fan page the Keith Andrew Network, or which one is your fan page?
There's two of them. It's the KeithAndrewNetwork.com. That's the main one. Okay. And for some reason, I came up with the backup page. So it says Keith Andrew Network backup page. And that has over a couple thousand people on it. Okay. But the thing about the backup page is I don't use it. It's just randomly there. But for some reason, a lot of people seem to like the backup page. It's like, I don't understand. I'm not using the backup page. Here's the main page. But whatever, it's served its purpose of getting a couple thousand. But yeah, just go to KeithAndrewNetwork.com. I'm on all over social media. Some people say it's like a bad case of a RAS. You know, you never know where it's going to pop up. But I'm all over that, and it's a learning process for the most part.
Well, I hope you follow me too. I'm on Facebook on Ashley Berges, and my name spelling is a little different. It's Berges. You know, most people spell it Burgess or Burges. So Berges. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, same name. Twitter, same. I haven't really been paying as much attention on Twitter because it just seems so tough to get leverage on Twitter a little bit. And then I'm on YouTube, and I've been growing the channel on there. But I like to put a lot of stuff on Facebook, and I like to put a lot of video stuff. So maybe if you wanted to share that with me, if you wanted to share this with me, maybe I could put it up too, or you could link it to me, and I could share it on my social media as well. Get the word out about your show. Yeah, and
may I help you?
Yeah, that would be great, and I'd love to get the word out about your show. I'm sure I could get you some other cool interviews and some people that might be like-minded and maybe in the book industry or something like that that could help you. But yeah, and I actually have a TV show. I'm not really sure. Do you have Amazon Prime?
Not really.
Okay. If people that do have Amazon Prime, it comes free with the Amazon Prime subscription. I have a TV show called The Celebrity Perspective. And it's on Amazon Prime. Season 1 is right now, and I'm actually working in Season 2 pre-production right now as well, which we should be shooting in the beginning of January. So I'm like, but it's a lot on the plate, but it's all good, and so, you know, and then I see clients. So after I get off with our interview, then I have some therapy clients and a couple of coaching clients. Yesterday was all therapy clients, and then tomorrow about the same, and then I'll be on someone else's radio show. I'm a therapist on a radio show every Wednesday night on iHeart 1190, so I'll do that tomorrow night. So it's just kind of like something all the time, but just trying to help people, you know. That's basically what I do, is I try to help people find their true calling, their true life, and find that happiness in a life where it can be a very tough world.
No, it can, and it could be a cold one too.
It can be, especially when there's so many people that are, I think, unconscious and unaware, you know, and so, you know, I don't think a lot of people realize how we are all connected, and some people refuse to see that. They think that they're on their own and that, you know, they can act and do as they please, and, you know, it's kind of a sad state of affairs, but I think there's a lot of people that are awakening, a lot of people who are conscious to what's going on, and I think if you can find your tribe in this world, it's a powerful place to be.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. About wrapping up,
okay.
The last 2 questions for you. One, how can people follow you on social media? I know you hinted towards this, but this is usually how I end the show. You know, could you repeat again your Twitter and Instagram, you know, LinkedIn, all that information so your fans can follow you?
Yeah, that would be great. Actually, it's just really easy breezy to find me. You can go to ashleyberges.com, Ashley Berges, Ashley Berges.com, and all of my social media links are at the very top of the page on the right, and so you can just click on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of it, and all of them too are just my name. It's just Ashley Berges. But if you wanted to find all the links, you just go to ashleyberges.com, and bam, it's all there, and even including the Amazon show, and even including the BizNet show, it's all there. So, and they're all on the front page, and they all go direct links, and so that might be the easiest way. If you follow me, I will always follow back. So, so definitely anybody out there that does start to follow me, I will follow you back as well. So be ready.
And I already sent all my requests to you on all medias. Well, except
Awesome.
for LinkedIn. I can do that in a little bit.
Oh yeah, please do. Please do. I'm starting to like LinkedIn a little more. So definitely reach out on LinkedIn. I think it's a really good place.
It is when it works out. Yesterday, I was like randomly just calling people up saying, "Hey, we're friends on LinkedIn, and I messaged you 6 months ago. You never answered back, and I emailed you. but I want to be more professional and call you up and introduce myself so you can hear directly from me. A sudden pause, and I lost count. Like 4 people in a row just randomly hung up on me. I'm like, all right.
Oh, wow.
So
You're like, hello?
Yeah, they said hello, and I introduced myself, told them, hey, we're friends on LinkedIn. I'm a talk show host. It's about disabilities. Love to have you as a guest. And instead of saying no thank you like a normal human being, they just randomly hang up on me.
That is crazy. Okay, well, sorry that happened to you. I don't know. It's just like...
Yeah, people suck.
Yeah, some people you just have to just let it go. You know what I'm saying? Just let it go and move on. You're not gonna win it all the time. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. My last question for you, wrapping up the show.
But you can't win most of the time.
It's true, but I'm not in a fighting mood. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction? And after doing the show, how do you feel now? And do you have any regrets?
Reaction the same, thought the same. I feel the same after doing the show. My thing was trying to get time to do it, and I'm just glad we made it happen. I'm just glad that you like interviewing me, so everything's good. As long as you like the interview, I'm happy. And I've always thought you were very awesome and a very cool person, and I'm glad we got to do this. And I look forward to staying in touch with you and having you on my show as well. And I think what you're doing is very powerful, and I think you just need to keep doing it.
No, absolutely. Now stay tuned for Off the Air. I do have a couple questions for you. But wrapping up, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be a guest on the show, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
I look forward to part 2 as well. I look forward to it, and I think this was a wonderful show, and can't wait to be back on.